Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blues Fanatics Show. I'm Dave Gotti Riley,
I'm Dan Liguori.
and we are here with the 2020 Blues album nominee, the 2020 IBC finalist, the 2019 Melbourne Blues Challenge winner, Mr. Aaron Pollock. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Really great. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to see you, man. I miss my Australian brothers, man.
Oh, we miss you too. We haven't had any international artists here for a long time.
I bet. I hear, you guys is locked down pretty tight. Can't nobody get in.
Yeah, that's
Or
right.
out.
It's good for me though, being an Australian artist too, though, because all the festivals here, they're having me come play. Because they can't get any international people over.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing. That's being kind of greedy, though, brother.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to fly 24 hours to get here anyway.
All right, that flight is a mother, and you lose a day. I was telling Dan when we first came out there, we got on the flight. We left on a Wednesday, and we had our first show was on a Friday, and we get there, and the guy dropped us off at the hotel. He's like, "All right, I'll be back to pick you up at 5 o'clock." He's like, "Oh, you gonna take us to get us something to eat?" He's like, "No, it's sound check." I'm like, "Sound check?" I'm like, "What's the day?" He's like, "Oh, it's Friday." I'm like, "What the fuck? We lost the whole day."
Yeah, but you get a day back when you go to America.
Well, you get a day back when you go
Yeah.
back. Yeah. But that blew my mind, man. So yeah, that's
It's really weird, man.
I
Did
love
you
it.
fly
You
out
know,
from
that's
Chicago
pretty
too?
amazing. So what you been up to, man? I know the pandemic, has been going on and for the last 12 months, how's it been musically and everything else?
Um, I can't complain. I've been really good. I've got my little unit here that I've been living in for the last 12 months.
Mm.
I've got my friends and family around me. Some of my best friends lived across the street for a long time, and my brother lives down the street. So I've been surrounded by a lot of support. And this year, I've had a lot of gigs so far because we've been opening up gradually since around October, November.
Mm.
And so I've had a lot of rebookings. I think I've done about 40 gigs so far this year, which is incredible, because they just keep coming in. People need the live entertainment back. I'm a solo artist. It's easy to get me to come play. There's
Yeah,
not many restrictions and regulations, about having a band. And
right.
so they have me come play all the time. So I've been really good, keeping really busy.
Oh, that's good, man. I'm glad to hear because, like I said, it's rough out here in the States. I think
Yeah.
Mm,
maybe I played 4 times
yeah.
this year, so yeah, it's been pretty rough. So let's go to the beginning. Let's rewind a little bit, brother. How did you get into the blues?
Blues was an interesting jump for me because I started off into hip hop. And
Really?
yeah, really big too. I used to love hip hop. I was into like 50 Cent and Eminem and Nas. And growing up, I was a huge fan of R&B and hip hop music.
Mhm.
And I think it, to me, they're pretty similar anyway, blues and hip hop. I never really saw much of a difference. And I remember wanting to be a rapper when I was like 9 or 10, but I was writing songs, and I think that was the significant part. As I was writing down lyrics and learning how to phrase songs, and then I don't know. I think I got into '60s rock, which is like Hendrix and the Beatles and Pink Floyd and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I just kept looking back and finding who were they influenced by, and then who
Yeah.
were they influenced by, and then I ended up in the 1920s and 30s. Listening
Oh,
to Robert Johnson and Blind Blake and Blind Willie McTell and all this stuff. So I'm very 1930s blues. I like pre-war blues a lot.
Oh, so you definitely are a traditionalist.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, man.
That's what we call it.
who's your first traditional blues musician that you listen to?
Blind Willie McTell.
Oh wow.
Bob Dylan wrote a song about him. About it might have been early 1980s, and he never released it. And I found the song about Blind Willie McTell, and I thought, who's this guy he's talking about? And then when I heard him, it's just one of those game-changing moments, when you listen to it for the first time.
Wow, game changer. That's saying a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. It was real
You
game
just kept
changing.
on going back, huh? You just kind of went from the '60s rock and just kind of figured like wanted to see who how they were all influenced.
Yeah, I listened to everything.
Yeah.
I was obsessive. I went back to back with everyone's catalogs and just
Oh,
looking for licks and riffs. And I don't know. I didn't actually go through electric blues much when I was younger. I went for the very raw, 1910s, 1920s blues music, and you could barely hear the stuff. I mean, it was
yeah.
crackling and hissing on these old vinyls, but there was something about it that was, I don't know. I knew I wanted to do it when I heard it.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good deal. I mean, it's kind of hard. You're such a young guy, and you love the '30s, late '20s, '30s type of blues. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't think that's kind of
Like,
odd?
like
Everybody
we
else
talked
like,
about
oh,
before, Dave. Before the blues, we didn't have much music. It was what, maybe symphony, Beethoven. I mean,
yeah,
the blues is really where we say a lot of it all. It really started.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I think the blues too is an embodiment of, uh, there's a lot of world music. I mean, a lot of this music came over from Africa.
yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of this music, even the Bahamas. I mean, the Bahamas had a blues scene going on during America's blues scene, and I think it was an interpretation of everything that
Sure.
it had been led up to that point. I mean, the guitar playing in those early 1930s blues songs. I mean, the music's old, but the guitar playing is not. You'll never live to see people as good as those guys.
Yeah.
They were just in another league of their own.
okay. So, how's the Melbourne blues scene? A lot of people don't understand when I say I've been to Australia, this, that, and the other, but they blues is real serious, and they got a lot of musicians out there that takes it real serious.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole culture out there is crazy. You know what I'm saying? As far as the blues goes, it's like, man, if you can't play it, they'll tell you. But if you can play it, they really appreciate you. So, can you explain the Melbourne blues scene to
Look, I wish I could give you more information than I actually know, because I jumped into the blues scene about maybe 3 years ago now. It the whole 8 years I've been playing, I was just doing cover shows. I mean, I was traveling around Australia in the car doing, Beatles covers and Frank Zappa to Fleetwood Mac and everything. And I was just doing whatever I could to get paid. And I, when I started getting into blues music, I did not know one other blues artist in Australia. So I
really?
wasn't really influenced at all by local blues music.
Mm,
And I remember um, I was busking on the street one time and I had a sign up saying saving for the USA. And the president, John Durr of the Melbourne Blues Society,
mm,
came up with his card and said, we might have a way to get you there for free. Just enter this competition. And that was the blues challenge.
mm,
But that doing that blues challenge was honestly my first uh my first entry into Melbourne's blues scene. So I still don't know too much about it. I haven't seen all of the artists play. There's a lot of artists I haven't seen before. And there's a lot of festivals I haven't done, a lot of shows I haven't done still. So I'm still pretty new to it. But the blues scene is, yeah, they take it really serious, and I think they should, because we have a lot of good talent here, and it's harder for us to get the exposure being so far away.
right.
So it's also like, is it a lot of the English rock bands pretty big in Australia? Is that also big there in Australia too? That is around.
Australia is very popular now with psychedelic rock.
Wow.
We've got in Perth, Australia, which is on the other side of where I am. They have some of the best psychedelic rock bands in the world. Tame Impala and Pond and King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They're all these bands that are worldwide, you know, known bands that it's all coming out of Australia at the moment. So
Yeah.
that's really our niche market at the moment, I think.
Yeah. So it's like the forefathers of, they like to call like the forefathers of blues, like Muddy Waters and BB King. I mean, is it Australia? No, those are they pretty well known in Australia? I mean, those are our
Yeah,
founding fathers of the blues here. They're pretty well known in Australia from your perspective.
definitely.
Oh, that's that.
Um, I think they I think they can't be detached from the blues in the first place. You know, it's like if someone's into blues, then you know who BB King is,
Sure.
unless you've lived under a rock. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those genres that I think you have to know Muddy Waters and BB King
Yeah.
before you know the blues. You know, so
Yeah.
it's not music wise in popularity. I mean, almost like everywhere, it's not as popular as it should be.
I agree. We and Dave talk about this all the time. Are there like blues radio shows in Australia? Like there anybody that plays that? I mean, we
Yeah.
have Bob Cortor does one here in Phoenix. Can if you listen to the radio in Australia, are there blues shows that cover the blues?
Yeah, we considering how the blues isn't a part of our history, the
Yeah,
significance is different to the United States. We really do accommodate for blues artists here. Like you
that's
can
very
make a living as a blues artist here,
sure.
and I think it's slowly getting better because people are starting to appreciate organic music more.
Yeah,
Um, Hopefully, the lockdown thing too can really help because I mean, no one's sitting in lockdown listening to this is the best night of my life pop music.
no,
People want to listen to music they
meaningful
can relate
music.
to. You know,
Yeah,
it'll be back. I think the blues is going to be as popular as it ever was, but I
yeah.
think it's starting to get the
We
more
got to tell we got
appreciation.
our folks here in the U.S. that because that's the main thing we want to build. We're trying to build the blues, continue it to for younger people. I mean, I think uh, as blues continues, I mean, getting our younger people to want to hear blues and have that reason to keep this music going alive, and it's that's something that I'm 32, but
Yeah,
I always try to tell my friends about the blues and try to give them even if they started somewhere of Stevie Ray Vaughan and going back to the Muddy Water, I that's what I want. That's my goal, my objective. I think it's there, like we were talking about before, having those festivals is so important because it's what brings younger people out to exposure to the blues, and I think once we get those back, I mean, it'll help out.
yeah.
Do we,
What do you guys think is the? I mean, why do you think that blues has become such a niche market? Is it
I
because
think it's just
electronic music or?
I think it's just because just people being really true to the blues, and I think we've had some musicians on. People, I mean, we may not have as much of the quantity of listeners, but the quality. People that love blues are really into and really have true passion in it, and people that want personality in the blues. And me and Yanni have talked about this with some other musicians that are on. It's a very personal music. You can get when Yanni's playing at the Rhythm Room here in Phoenix or really other places, you're gonna be able to meet musicians. Whereas in the other genres, it's not something that's really done. So I think that people that really appreciate blues are going to be with it, and I think really what it means, and I mean, I think you're a great example. I mean, you talked about being, starting off in hip hop and going into and seeing where the value of blues. I mean, it grabs a part of your soul, and then once you get it, you realize, well, this is just an amazing music. And to me, it's like
Hmm.
when I hear blues, it's like no other. You just really, it has that. It could be about anything, So I think really for the main thing that is that just get like we're doing now more exposure, and people being willing to understand blues, that blues is like no other. It's its own. Like I tell people, you could listen to no matter what you're hearing, whether you're hearing blues is it's the soul. You have to have a soul to hear blues. I mean, I'm sure you feel that way too, right, Aaron? The soul of blues.
Definitely, it's the most human music that you can almost find.
It clearly is, and I
Yeah,
think that people should need to understand that. People have probably have said, blues. They think that it's only sad, but blues can be anything. It's an
nah,
emotion. I mean,
blues
you
is
know,
normally happy, man. Like that's
yeah,
what people
exactly. I
get
mean, people
confused
only
about.
will consider it as yeah,
One
exactly.
of
I
the
mean,
biggest misconception of the world. Like, oh,
it
a
is.
lot of
It
young
really
people,
is.
the blues is so sad. I'm like, no, not all of it, man. You
Not
It's
all of it. I
never
mean, there
that
maybe are
sad.
some, but not all of it. No.
If anything, it's just taking a joke out of sadness and despair. I mean, that's what the blues was. I mean,
Yeah,
like some of those original blues songs, man, they weren't really having a moan. I mean, these were people making light out of terrible situations, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that happens to me all the time. People will try and hire me for shows, and I'll say I'm a blues singer, and they'll
Yeah.
say, "Oh, look, we need something a bit more upbeat and lively." You know, they think I'm going to rock up with my hat down and a big cigar coming out the
Yeah.
side, but really, I do ragtime music, man, which is like some of the most upbeat stuff you can ever hear.
So
Yeah.
let's take it back, Aaron.
Hmm.
2020. You won a Melbourne Blues Challenge, and that was your first time entering it.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
You won the Blues Challenge, and when I was there, everybody was talking about it. About this young kid is this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, wait, who was this guy they talking about? Then I finally met him. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, he's good.
Right. Thanks, man. It feels like a lifetime ago, really.
It really do. And then you went to Memphis. Tell
Yeah.
us about your experience with that.
Do you want me to start from the start, or should I just
Start from
cut
the
straight
start,
to the
brother.
point?
Start from the start.
How can you start
Because,
Memphis?
I
Well,
mean,
look,
to make it to the fucking finals, man.
yeah. So I was one of two Australians who made it to the final 8. We even had Ray Beadle from Sydney. I don't know if you've met him before,
I haven't met him, no.
but there was, yeah, incredibly, I was one of two Australians who made it to the 8, and that was a weird week, man, because I mean, I got off the plane, as you know, that 24-hour flight. It's 3
Yeah.
flights. Got off the plane. I spent 1 or 2 days in Memphis getting settled. It's a huge culture shock, you know, because I'd
Yeah.
been to America before, but I don't know, when you've got your guitar with you and you know you're there to work, it was a bit different, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember getting there. I was like real clean cut at the time. Like I wasn't drinking or smoking or doing anything because I was really like trying to get in the mode, and I did not want to get sick getting off that plane, you know.
Mhm.
And I remember getting there, and surreal, you know, there's 200, 300 artists all walking around with their guitars, and everyone's trying to be nice to each other, but they know like everyone want each other to lose, you know, like
Because of it.
there's all this passive aggressiveness because you're speaking to these people and they're saying, you know, good luck, but you know they don't mean it. You know, they want you to break
Yeah.
a string, and it was 7 days of just like grueling. Oh man, the way they laid it out was crazy. So I'd play at like 11 p.m. Then they would announce the winners at like 3 a.m. And then you'd have to be up the next day, back to your spot playing again. And they actually announced the winners of the who got into the final 8 at like 3 a.m. and expected
Yeah.
us to be at the Orpheum Theatre at 10 a.m. So I
7
didn't
hours
sleep the
later,
whole night.
yeah, that's yeah.
And I played the Orpheum Theatre, man. I got there and I was shaking, and it wasn't even out of nervousness. I mean, it was just I hadn't slept. I was laying on the couch all night just thinking about what I was going to do, you know. And by the time I got to the Orpheum, I was just exhausted.
So you didn't have nothing set that you wanted to play, or you were just going with the flow?
Look, I enjoyed every bit of it. I actually, I'm lucky that I don't really get nervous when I play. I really don't feel that the pressure, and I don't really feel the. I don't know. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy the kind of thrill of getting up and playing, and like the more people, the better. I really enjoyed playing because I don't know if you're playing a show that's got 4 or 5 people,
Mm.
it's very intimate, and they're watching everything you do, you know, and it's very,
Yeah.
very closely. I don't know. I like playing to more people. So the Orpheum was fine to play. It was just I was so tired, you know.
Yeah.
So go ahead,
What did you
take us through the competition, the contest, the rounds, and all of that stuff.
All right, so the first round, I I lost points because because I didn't check in. Look, now I can say this stuff because you know it's a while back now, but I really I really should start reading the rules and guidelines to all of this stuff before I do it. Because I got there in the first round, I lost 2 points or something for not checking in early, and then I was supposed to play for 25 minutes, and they time you, but I only played for like 19 minutes, and I just walked off the stage, and then everyone's looking at me going, "Man, you got to get back up." And I thought, "Oh, I'm already gone here," you know. So I jumped back up with my guitar and just like thought of a song on the spot. It wasn't even planned, and I got through it. And despite losing the 5 points, got to the semi-finals. Almost did the same thing. Didn't check in, but they didn't care as much that time. And the semi-finals was interesting because there was a lot of good players. It was getting really intimidating because man, you had some of the best players I've ever seen. There was a duo from the UK. They were incredible. There's these guys from Canada that came across, and I'd never heard playing like his guitar playing, you know. And I was a little bit intimidated, but I think once you get on stage, you just go through the motions and you do everything that you normally do. And it was fine, you know. But I'm never doing it again. Never. I'm never doing that again. I can't. It was way too difficult, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's definitely a mind fuck to go through all of that mess.
Have you done it?
No, no, no. I for some reason I didn't have to. Thank God.
Yeah. So did you have to play those final 6 minutes or from
Yeah, I
19?
did. I really did, and I went for it. My little heart just did everything it could, man, because I was I thought at this point, I'm in trouble here, so I've got to play really well, and so I was just doing everything I could during that song, you know?
Yeah, but I ain't have to go through all of that. I got fathered in from like Frank Frost and Sam Carr. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I had to go through all that stuff. So you went through all of that. You made it to the finals. I mean, did you think you would go that far?
Yeah, I did, to be honest. And it wasn't what I did for a lot of the time was I didn't watch other artists, which is it's not a great thing to do because I
It's a
would have
good
missed
thing.
out on.
It's actually a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't watch anyone else. I didn't care for anyone else. I didn't compare myself to anybody. Like I said, it was intimidating seeing the people that you inevitably have to see, you know, who were before and after your show. They were good, but I, I mean, I've been playing those same songs and that same show for I don't know, nearly 1,000 times, man. Like
Mm.
for the last 8 years, I've played all over Australia doing it, and I thought if it's got me this far, I've just got to be me and just keep doing the same thing. And I got up and it worked. You know, it was a working formula for the Blues Challenge.
You're right, and you actually, like I say, you actually play blues, and I know in that competition, it's a lot of quote unquote, I call it rockabilly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not really blues, but that's what they play at those challenges. And I know you play traditional blues, so I know you would go over real good to make it that far.
yeah. There's a lot of soul music. There's a lot of folk, a lot of
Mm.
country. It is. I mean, I play very traditional blues, so it's pretty hard to say it's not blues. You know, a lot of it is Delta based and Piedmont blues, ragtime style bass. So
Yeah.
I think that was probably refreshing for them too, because I mean I love ragtime music, you know, and
Mm.
I've only met about 2 or 3 ragtime players before, and I went all over around America looking for them, and I couldn't find them.
Ragtime is like it's a dying music, man. It's
Yeah.
not too many players that play it anymore, man.
Yeah,
It's great music. I mean,
and I
well,
think
ragtime spawned to jazz.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, it's swing music, you know, because I love swing jazz, and so
Yeah.
it's. I think there should be a. I mean, my idea at that time as an artist was to play the ragtime music and play the Delta blues music in the same style, but to beef it up a bit. You know, like there's no reason we can't make this style of music more popular just by making it more kind of youthful and exuberant and just kind
Yeah.
of bringing it into a new light. I mean, all the ragtime players I've seen, I mean, like are old enough to be my grandparents, you know, and they kind of they kind of just sit and do the motions, but there's no no standing up. There's no kind of pulling the crowd in. There's no ragtime's a very it is a dying style, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I hate that. But you got to grab that guitar, man, and play us a number, man.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right.
We got to show these
What
people.
I'll do.
We got to show these people what
I'll,
you made of.
So actually, ragtime has been. I just got to be one moment. Just plug it in.
I know you love it, man.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So what are we doing?
Whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah, it's up to you, Aaron.
It's all about you today, brother.
Well, look, it has been a while since I've done a lot of fingerpicking blues stuff. I've been kind of getting more into recording at the moment and producing. So it's been at least a couple of months before I've done any ragtime songs. But I like I've been remastering an album that I put out when I was about 18 years old, and it had all these original tracks on it that I still play them live, but they didn't age well because I was, really young when I recorded them. So I'll do one of those songs. This one's called "I'd Rather Be Alone with You."
Okay.
Your love is following me around, always trying to put me down. You can have this heart of mine, just please don't waste my precious time, 'cause I'd rather be alone with you. I'd rather be alone with you. Now girls like you seem to disappear. That's why I'm trying to keep you here. My heart's so broken, I've turned to stone. But I'll be waiting when you come home, 'cause I'd rather be alone with you. I'd rather be alone with you. Yeah. Someday, baby, you will know how long it took for our hearts to grow. You left me waiting here way too long. I tried my best, but what we shared is gone. Honey, I'd rather be alone with you. I'd rather be alone with you, my sweet baby. I'd rather be alone with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a real old song.
Yeah.
I like it. You know, Dan, Aaron is a real blues guy, man. I'm gonna call him a real blues man.
That's for sure.
When we first met, me and old man, we was doing the show. Then after the show, he gave us a ride back to his hotel. And guess what happened? We got pulled over by the police. You remember that, Aaron? I'm like, this can only happen to a blues man.
Oh, I know. This was in Australia?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Good times. So, how did you come up with your style? You know, coming from hip hop, coming from, the kind of classic rock and folk and all of that. So, how did you form your own personal style?
I would say that the way I write comes from hip hop. The way I play guitar comes from blues, and
That's a really interesting combination of hip hop and the blues. So you say you're right, and then that's an interesting,
well,
very different genres. Yeah,
well, it's something I've only thought about recently because I mean, hip hop's really interesting because it's
yeah,
the same thing. It's phrased the same. I mean, I loved rapping because of its rhythm. It's all the same thing. It all comes back down to rhythm. You know, like I love ragtime music because of the rhythm. I love blues because of the rhythm,
yeah.
and I love hip hop because it's the rhythm, especially in the actual the way the rapping, the way it's spoken is just incredible. And so it's a lot of things, man. I mean, I love Jimi Hendrix. I love ambient music. I love Brian Eno. I
Yeah.
love Bob Dylan.
I
Any
hear
music's
some.
good to me.
I hear some of your when you were playing a little bit of your influence of the Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
From the
definitely.
folk side of Bob Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Bob Dylan. I like that style.
What
Woody
was
Guthrie.
you always liked his voice, or you just like Bob Dylan's the style?
Look, I love Bob Dylan's voice, and
Yeah.
I don't actually know why people hate it. It's got a lot of attack. I love the tone of it, man. I
No,
wish I
you
could
know,
like him.
Dylan
You're
is
the only
good.
one in the world that likes Bob Dylan's voice.
I really think it's one of the best voices I've ever heard, and it's really weird.
Really?
Yeah, it's just got so much. It's so direct, you know. Like I never really got
I
into.
agree with that. It is direct.
It is.
It is direct.
So maybe that's just what I'm into. You know, I like it cuts through.
Yeah.
Cuts through really well, and you can hear everything he's saying really well. He doesn't muddy the waters of what he's trying to
I also
convey.
hear a little bit of George Harrison, a little bit of some of his after the Beatles stuff. I don't.
Yeah,
I
so,
hear a little bit of George Harrison in some of his after the Beatles. Yeah.
oh man, I love everything. The
Yeah.
blues for me was the best pick out of all of them because
To me, it is.
yeah, well, it's I love pop music. I love rock. Like
Yeah.
it
But
doesn't
like I've
matter.
always told people, it wouldn't be pop rock wouldn't be around. Blues is where it all started. I mean, pop and rock kind of like
Yeah,
it takes the like the blues was the beginning part, and then pop and rock became their own thing. But the blues is where it's the blues is really where everyone should get the tribute because that's where it starts.
yeah, and it's the blues too was. I mean, for me growing up, I had trouble finding a band. I couldn't
Yeah.
find anyone to play with,
Mm.
and it the blues was there's something real cool about the whiskey drinking blues man with his cap on. He's got the guitar
Yeah.
slung across his back, and no matter where he goes, he's always got his guitar with him. And that was like that image that I loved. There was this carefree attitude, and there was this I don't know this freedom. There's something about the freedom of being able to travel around with your guitar and do it on your own. I mean, I rocked up to the Orpheum Theatre in Memphis with
Yeah.
my guitar and a cable. It wasn't even coiled properly, and get on stage and plug it in, and then that's it. That's your show, and you can entertain millions of people doing that if you do it right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So how do you determine like when you want to hear? I mean, you like hip hop, you like pop, you like classic rock, you like blues. Is it just what you're in the mood for? Because they're all different in their own ways. How do you choose what you want to hear? Because it's actually what song you want. How do you choose that? I mean, because
Blues music's cool when you need a bit of a break from people and things.
yeah,
Like
I understand.
when you're a bit tired or like living the rat race, you put some blues on and
Yeah.
it makes sense again. It's
Yeah, absolutely. So when you listen to the blues, was it you? I mean, what got you to the guitar? Was it like I mean, you mentioned some of the artists. Was there any one guitarist that you said, what, I really specifically for the blues that got you influenced? Was there anyone? I mean, I know you mentioned anybody specifically.
look, Blind Willie McTell was a really interesting one. As same with Blind Blake. I got into Robert Johnson a little bit earlier, but they were later. But they were the main three, and I think what they all had in common was that one man band attitude. And I mean, what I liked about them the most was the guitar playing. You know, like Robert Johnson's guitar playing. He's just not a cool old blues man. Like that guitar playing's never been seen before, and it's
Yeah.
still never been replicated today. There's a lot of people that have come close, and there's a lot of people that play in the style of Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
But whatever he was doing with the guitar it's mystical. And same with Blind Blake too.
Yeah.
I've tried studying it for years, and I've never heard anyone get close to how these guys played
Yeah.
on a sonic level, you know. And so that was a really big point for me. Like I almost sought out to be, you know, a disciple of one of these singers just because they were geniuses in their field. They weren't just good players that were good for their time, but now we've gotten better with time, you know. They were like the Michael Jordans of blues guitar playing.
Yeah.
And I've still to this day, I can't listen to them without feeling bad about my playing, you know.
Yeah.
How do you
They're
feel
good.
about Robert Johnson?
Sorry?
How do you feel about Robert Johnson? We done had a couple of people, well, one in particular, we ain't gonna say no names, that felt a certain way about Robert Johnson. He didn't
Yep.
like he didn't like him. He said Robert Johnson was a thief.
Look, all the best artists in history are thieves.
There has to be some
Elvis
sort
Presley
of,
was a thief.
Yeah.
Beatles were thieves. Like of course, man.
Rolling
What
Stones.
it is. Yeah, Rolling Stones, definitely.
Well, I mean, Muddy Waters was a huge influence of Rolling Stones, and you look at their success. Muddy Waters is a huge part of where they, you know, they started off. You know?
Look, I don't doubt it whatsoever that Robert Johnson stole a lot of those songs. I think they said he stole the songs from Ike Zimmerman, who taught him how to play the guitar. And Ike Zimmerman's family claimed that a lot of the tunes were were Ike's, not Robert's. But in all honesty, I don't care. I think he's cool. And so what if he stole them? He did them better. You know, like the way he records, dude, like those recordings, they're magic. They really are. If you actually put them down to a fine, if you listen to them, if you look at them under the microscope, it will never be replicated again.
Yeah.
And that's just a testament to how good Robert Johnson actually was.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just you know what he meant, what he means. So, do you have like do you keep like any of his music on your playlist and when you listen?
Yeah, I listen all the time.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of it is the same, so it's hard to listen to it all the time. But I went
But,
through a period of listening to it,
Yeah.
you know, hundreds of hours constantly on end. And, you know, like I said, it was the same reaction every time. It's freakish guitar playing, freakish singing. I mean, some of the lyrical content, his or not, the way he expressed it was done with so much soul and feeling that, like I said, it's getting nearly impossible to get that again. So it could be a thief, and everyone that have been famous in history have stolen.
I mean,
Thomas
they had
Edison was a
have
thief.
influence from somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
mean,
like anybody else, man. You pick up from somebody, everybody you encounter, man. And you put it all in a gumbo and mix it all together. And
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
make it, and then
Yeah, exactly, man.
that's just how
I've stolen stuff too. I reckon I've stolen a lot of stuff. You know, like everyone have stolen something. There is no one artist that's just appeared out of nowhere who wasn't influenced from somebody else.
yeah.
Right.
That's not
You just
true.
you take that influence and you kind of make it your own. Yeah. So, when you in Australia, is there you know, is there when you listen to the radio, is it pretty much like it is in the U.S. where it's it's dominated pretty much in the U.S. like between hip hop, pop, and rock is much the same in Australia. When you listen to radio in Australia, I mean that's one thing that's in the States you could pretty much guarantee no matter what state you go, let's turn it on. I mean, I wish I could say it was the blues, but it's majority it's either classic rock, hip hop, or pop. But unfortunately, there isn't the blues in that mix of that. Is it like that in
Yeah.
Australia?
Look, I don't think the blues has ever been radio friendly.
It
It
doesn't
only
seem that
was
way.
when it mixed with rock and pop. I personally would love a only blues radio, and
Yeah,
luckily for us, we actually do have a lot of blues and local and organic music
that's
because
great.
it's smaller here. We don't actually have as many radio channels, and so
Yeah,
you've got your mega pop radio stations where like Billie Eilish will come on, and that Justin Bieber will be on repeat
yeah,
all day. But then we also have local radio channels that are really popular here. So I mean, there's a good chance that I could drive down the street and hear one of my songs come on,
yeah.
and that's not because I'm popular or famous or on the air or streaming or anything. It's just that we have a lot of good radio stations that
That's
play
great.
local artists
Let,
and
let,
blues, especially. Usually later at night, you'll find a lot of really good blues shows.
let
So
me ask
we are lucky with that.
since blues is not a popular genre of music, in which I always say blues gonna always stand the test of time. It's always
I
gonna
agree.
Mm.
somebody being as young as you. Why do you pick the blues instead of pop or rock or something that's more commercial successful?
Um, I've got a new album coming out.
Oh, we gonna get to that.
and it's just, and look, it is a bit different from what I have been doing, but I've always held on to the idea that there is a way to combine the both of them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think it's possible. I I don't know why a lot of blues fans sit back and say, oh, pop music's all shit, and pop music's terrible, it's bad, and like if we keep creating a division between blues and pop,
that's the one
blues
thing
is
that
never.
I agree with you, Aaron. I think that there's a I think there shouldn't really be a competition because I look at it like this. It's every music has its own style and it's done differently. So there really shouldn't be a competition between one another. They're all done have magic in their own way. And I agree with
Hmm.
what you're saying is that if you're I mean, they're all have a way of touching audiences in their own way. So I think that trying to compete for them one against one another isn't really the right thing. So I I think more what the biggest thing is. I think maybe blues fans are looking at it as it's blues as being it's a I would say like we were talking about before, unique of its own. I think that maybe if a blues fan maybe hears pop, it's just going to come across when you hear the music in a different way. It's I don't.
Yeah.
I think that maybe it's not. They're looking at it as it's when you hear the music, there's a different interpretation, different the way it feels. I mean that's just the way the genres are. So I think what you're what you're going at is put them together and it could make something really great.
Well, if you put them together, you've got some of the best albums that have ever been made
Yeah.
already in history. I mean, like
Sure.
early Fleetwood Mac albums are incredible.
Oh yeah, I
Early
mean,
Beatles,
Fleetwood
early
Mac was
Stones.
blues. Fleetwood Mac was blues in the very early stages of the band, and they became rock pop later on. But there's some early Fleetwood Mac that is blues. Yeah,
Yeah, it's blues music. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in blues music that don't want it going anywhere.
yeah,
It's really strange. I mean, I feel like a lot of blues audiences are what holds blues back from becoming more popular. It's obviously not selling it out, but
why do you
finding a
think that
way
is?
to
Why do you think
combine
that's
it.
the case? So why do you think that they're holding it back? The audience isn't. It,
Well, I don't know. Unfortunately, I mean, in many instances in society, people don't like to have an open mind,
yeah,
and I think like I said, I mean, my goal is to get on stage and like do some ragtime guitar and like play a popular sounding song, right?
yeah,
And what that does good for everyone,
sure,
because we can't keep playing the same songs, the same
sure.
blues tunes. We can't keep playing Sweet Home Chicago, and we need to find a way to make blues accessible to everybody. Because look, people just don't like blues because they haven't heard it.
Right.
That's the problem. They think blues they make it either old, inaccessible.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's sad. But people don't actually understand the
They don't
concept of blues.
understand the whole picture of it. Yeah.
You put um anybody into a blues festival. You know, you give them a free week pass to a blues festival, and they'll come out in love with the blues. So I think making it accessible and not being afraid of letting it become a popular style of music could do wonders for it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it really is.
That's another song, Aaron.
All right. Should we go for the Delta blues style then?
There we go.
We'll do some Robert Johnson style. Should we do a Robert Johnson song, or they're overplayed? I think.
Whatever you feel, brother.
I'll do one of my tunes, but I'll do it in the style of Robert Johnson. While this train keeps a rolling, babe, but my heart's still set on you. Well, this train keeps a rolling, babe, but my heart's still set on you. Honey, I'm leaving in the morning. Tell me what in the world I'm gonna do. Well, my friends say I'm crazy, babe, for leaving you behind. Lord, my friends say I'm crazy, babe, for leaving you behind. Honey, you burnt all of my letters, and you walked all over my mind. Walked all over my mind. While this train keeps a rolling, babe, but my heart's still set on you. Well, this train keeps a rolling, babe, but my heart's still set on you. Honey, I'm leaving you in the morning. Tell me what in the world I'm gonna do. Lord, I'm leaving in the morning, but my heart's still set on you. Lord, I'm leaving in the morning, gal, but my heart's still set on you. Honey, I'm getting that train. Tell me what in the world I'm gonna do. Honey, I'm getting on that train, love. Tell me what in the world I'm gonna do.
Hell yeah. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Brother, since the pandemic, I was shut down for 7 months, couldn't go nowhere, couldn't do nothing. Well, more than 7 months. You got a lot of new material. What's new coming out?
We've gone for a more of a country style album.
What?
That's why the mustaches, yeah.
That's what the mustache is for.
No, we've got. Look, there's a recording studio just local to my house where I about 3 or 4 months ago decided to go in with an album which was going to be half blues, half country folk. You know, because it's my first actual 2 albums were folk music, but no one had really heard them until I did the blues thing. So I usually go back and forth between folk and blues. And I went into the studio, and one thing led to another, and then before you knew it, we've got a pedal steel guitar in the back, and now we've
Oh,
got somebody playing the mandolin, and we've got the fiddle, and so
that's certified
it's
right there.
yeah. Let's call it country blues, but it's come across well, come along, I should say, really well. Um, it's been the easiest project I've ever made, and everybody that have heard it so far, it's still in its demos, but they really, really like it. So it's a bit of a jump, but I also have another album that I've got kind of sitting around, which is the Blues Tapes Volume 2,
Hmm.
which is I've got a 2 years ago I released an album called the Blues Tapes, which was like all of my favorite Delta blues songs from the 30s, just recorded onto an album. And I've actually got part two of it sitting there hidden away on the computer. So after the country one, I think we'll release another blues album. So probably two albums this year coming out.
Okay. Okay. Cool. What can we get those albums?
When or where?
Both.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's do some plugging. So the first, I mean, all of my albums you can find online under Aaron Pollock, and you have to be careful now because there's a second Aaron Pollock from Canada, and he keeps coming up too. So just try and type in Aaron Pollock Australia, and I will come up.
Okay.
Look, you'll find everything on my website, which is aaronpollockmusic.com.
Mhm.
You can find it on Facebook. Hopefully, you'll find it on the radio where you go, and Spotify, iTunes, all of the streaming sites. But I really hope with the album Delta Hotel, that's the new one coming out.
Mhm.
I hope that people kind of jump onto it now and kind of watch the progression of releasing it, because I'll have a video clip come out in maybe a month, another video clip. There'll be a lot of interviews and articles, and because it's my first real studio album, I'm going to treat it as my debut album. So if people do like the music, I hope they follow, the whole journey of the album and get included in it too.
Okay. Okay. That's good stuff. So we're gonna be looking out for that big time. So have you been doing any like live feeds, streams from like Facebook and stuff like that?
I mean, I don't know how the audio quality is from my end, but every time I did live streams, they sounded terrible. And I have the equipment, but I just didn't know how to get it going. So I actually didn't. I think I did two live streams in the whole COVID period,
Mhm.
but really I just wrote songs, man, and I listened to a lot of music again. It was actually good to have a break from playing and
Yeah.
just to figure out where I was at.
I was saying that before, like I was just so tired, man, because we was always running around doing this, doing that. But shit, now I miss it like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, you don't know what you've got till it's gone.
Don't know where you got till it's gone. For real.
Uh,
And
Look,
it's
the
been crazy.
playing. There's something about. I mean, look, I've played. Like I said, I think I'm up to like 38 or 39 gigs this year, and but a lot of them have been really whack gigs, man. Like some of these are like playing at parties, like doing covers, and they're the real just needing to get paid and get along, and survive. I can't be picky anymore. If I get offered work, I just take it.
Well, let
And
me
so,
ask you this. What do you like the most? Do you like the intimate setting in like small bars or little clubs and lounges, whatever, or do you like the festival? I mean, obviously festivals pay more, but do you like the more intimate crowds or
intimate.
yeah? Like
I
you
like
want
being
live
able to be
feedback?
heard the whole way through.
You like the feedback and the what you get from the audience? I mean, you get a lot from festival to crowds too, but that intimacy from a small crowd is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing better. I mean, for me, I like poetry and I write a lot. I've got I organized all of the songs I've ever written into a book last year, and I've got about 400 songs that I've put together in my life, and it's an insane amount of work. Like, if I retired now, I'd be okay. I'd have all the stuff.
Good.
And I've just written. I write every day. and I always write, and I'm constantly writing, and that's my favorite part of being a musician is writing music. And so it's unfortunate when you're playing, in a restaurant and people can't hear the words you're singing, because that's like that's 90% of the reason you're there. You're trying to convey a message and you're trying to show them your song. And festivals are like that too. I mean, unless it's a really silent festival, they're not going to really hear your song. So I guess I prefer the intimate venues where they're sitting there and they're taking everything in and they're understanding the complexity of your writing, as opposed to just some bass and some drums, and it's a different kind of scene.
Hey, so what's next for you, big guy?
Look, I couldn't tell you, man. This the last 12 months is. I'd be lying if I said I knew. I really the next 6 months I do have planned out, but I wouldn't put money on it. Basically, it looks pretty iffy still. But the next 6 months will be finalizing the album, releasing the album. I won't be able to tour the album properly, but at least having maybe 2 or 3 really good shows that promote the album. Campaigning, running around, promoting it, flyers, festivals, whatever. And I will be coming back to the United States at the end of the year. But it just depends if the country let me out or not.
Well, make sure you hit Chicago. You already know. But
I will be. I'm hoping to be in Chicago around Christmas time, but it's gonna be so cold,
it's gonna suck. You're gonna hate it.
It'll be my first white Christmas, man. Because our Christmas here is normally like what you would have is like 100 Fahrenheit. Like it's hot, and you're always outside. Usually spend it at the beach or having a barbecue, or like I've never seen snow over Christmas.
Does it never get really that cold in Australia?
I don't know. It does get cold, but not like you guys, man. Like it was insane how cold it got in America.
Well, it don't get cold like Chicago. It don't get cold in Arizona, what Dan is.
Yeah, that's right.
Some parts so, but not where I am, not so much.
No. So I don't feel sorry for neither one of you guys.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yeah, you've got it bad.
I got it real bad. If you see some of the pictures like this past winter, I'm out there with my snow blower shoveling snow, like 5 feet of snow. Is like ridiculous, man.
I couldn't comprehend it when I got there. Actually, I remember getting off the plane in Chicago, and I had this big coat and jacket and gloves because I got off the plane at like midnight, and so I was way too over prepared. And when I walked out, it was the worst heat wave Chicago had had in like 40 years or something. It was about 2 years ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like stinking hot for a week. And I was dying, man. I had this big coat on and these gloves. And then 2 days later, it started freezing over. It was just incredible. I couldn't believe
Chicago, it's night and day, man. It's like the ocean tide, man. You never contain it. It's like one day it's 3 below zero, the next day it's 60 degrees or 80 degrees. So
yeah, it's true.
That's Chicago, man. That's just how I do it. So man, like I say, you got all this time on your hands, a lot of material, man. I can't wait to see what's coming out next with you. I definitely enjoy your music, man, and you are a treasure, man. Being a young guy into the blues, keep it going, man. Keep it going.
Keep this music going, buddy.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a festival here this year called Blues on Broadbeach, which is one of the bigger ones, and I can't wait to pull out a new set list at a blues festival. Like I haven't seen a blues audience in so long. I mean, to that extent. I can't wait, man. I really can't wait to see it all happen again.
We was talking earlier. I mean, it was off camera, but we was talking earlier about like when this pandemic hit, you was like peaking, man. It was like you was like really going. So do you feel like the momentum has slowed? Well, definitely momentum has slowed down, but do you feel you're gonna regain that peak that was going on with you? Because you was like rolling for a nice little minute.
Oh, I was rolling, and it and it was hard, man, because it wasn't it wasn't luck either. I must admit, it was I'd built up so many years of trying to get to that level,
Mhm.
and I remember it did feel like I was peaking, and it was hard to crash down from it, and it was hard to see the world close up around you because it made these things feel insignificant. Like
Mhm.
what's the use in being a current winner of a blues challenge or something when the whole world's locking down?
Yeah.
And then 12 months later they didn't even have the blues challenge again, and it's almost bittersweet. But I do know that I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot since then, and
Yeah.
it probably was the best thing for me because you can get caught up in your head. It's
Yeah.
been a way to.
It definitely is. I mean, especially when you lose track of time when you're not doing it. It's like every day, they're all kind of seem like one day, right? I mean, it's like, do you find that like during the lockdown, it's like you don't go out and see and do things. It's like all every day seems to all be like one day, right?
Yeah, I don't take things for granted anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we always will. We're built
But I
to
think
take
that's a
things
lot
for
less
granted.
now. They realize that you appreciate what you have.
Yeah, I mean, there's the simplicity of traveling to the United States. I mean, back then it seemed like a huge thing, right? Going over to Memphis and playing and singing and stuff. But now it seems like even bigger.
Yeah.
Not the accomplishment of it, but just the journey. I mean, getting to the
Journey to
USA
get there.
seems impossible, and I really can't take that for granted because I could have been really unlucky, and that blues challenge could have happened during the pandemic. It might
Yeah.
not have ever happened at all.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got to
Yeah.
take what was given to me.
You gotta appreciate it in just like those moments. Yeah, I mean, I think for everything, it's like every day we appreciate everything. It's like what we have, and it's this really. I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I really do think that the the real tough ones will get through this.
Yeah,
The real tough ones, and I don't mean physically. I mean the people
mentally
that
tough.
can endure, yeah, mentally. The artists that can endure this can endure anything, and this has happened so many times in history. So
Yeah,
I really think that in 3 or 4 years' time, music will prosper again
yeah,
because we won't we will know what we missed out on.
yeah. I
I,
mean,
I think
I just like. I mean, it's like when you
better like it's
after having that.
big time.
Yeah,
Things are loosening back up because everybody is like really eager for live music, man. So
yeah.
it's definitely gonna come around. So
Yeah,
not
I
to hold
can't
you
wait, man.
anymore. Let everybody know your social media platform, what it will meet you at, what to see you at, what to get your merchandise, what to get your CDs.
You got www.aaronpollock.com. Oh no, aaronpollockmusic.com.
There you go.
And I need someone to do this stuff for me. I'm on YouTube under Aaron Pollock, Facebook Aaron Pollock, Instagram Aaron Pollock Music, Spotify. Just type my name in, you'll find everything on there. And try and keep up to date. I've even got a Facebook group now called Aaron Pollock's Live Gigs and Festivals, and it's basically for everybody that want to follow my gigs without it getting lost in their newsfeed, because the Facebook algorithm's really weird now, man. And like you could put up one of your gig posters and then only 8 people see it. It's not reaching your full audience.
Yeah.
So I've got an actual dedicated group to it that Aaron Pollock's Live Gigs and Festivals. And if you follow that, then you'll get it constantly in your news feeds, and it's constant updates of when I'm playing and performing next.
Okay, cool. Like I say, everybody be looking out for his material. That can't wait for the new albums to come out. Country.
No, we're not. Don't worry. It's not bad country. It's not bad country. It's very there's about 3 blues finger picking songs on there, and then the rest of them are look, it's mainly folk, but people will take it for probably country. But it's the same thing I've been doing for years. You know, it's just a lot of my newer songs coming out and being a bit more experimental than usual. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. It's a fun experience, man.
No doubt about it. I know it's gonna be good. But thank you for coming on the show, big guy. I appreciate you. Be on the lookout. We're gonna have the links below. Like, subscribe. I'm Dave Yanni Riley.
I'm Dan McGorry.
And we are here with the one and only my main man, Aaron Pollock.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.